Our reading today is by the physicist Richard Feynman. I think it's much more interesting to live not knowing than to have answers which might be wrong. I have approximate answers and possible beliefs and different degrees of uncertainty about different things. But I'm not absolutely sure of anything. And there are many things I don't know anything about, such as whether it means anything to ask why we are here. I don't have to know an answer. Good morning. My name is Leslie Polgar, and my pronouns are he and him. So, are you sure? Certainly. That beanbag toss game that the kids played earlier was fun. Although the board has the official 2-foot by 4-foot dimensions and the hole diameter of 6 inches, I modified it a wee bit to suit my topic today, which is uncertainty. Because this board has 2 holes, not the standard one. So when you saw a beanbag landing in a hole, were you sure which one? Left one? Right one? All of us could be pretty sure, quite certain. But if, perhaps as an echo of the Oscar-winning movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, we are transported to another place, say to the realm of quantum mechanics. There we cannot know with certainty which of 2 holes an electron passes through. And in the very act of trying to determine which hole, we disturb things, we mess things up, and make it impossible to tell whether it was the left or the right. So much for the power of physics. Uncertainty as the central concept of modern physics has been with me ever since my first quantum mechanics course in the spring of 1964 at the University of Michigan. I was stunned to learn from Professor Helmut Fischbeck that there is a fundamental, inalterable limit to how much we can know. But rest easy, because that's all the physics I'm going to foist on us today. This morning is about journeys. In this case, a metaphorical and spiritual, but no less a journey than flying off to Italy to choose a favorite destination. Destinations are fixed, and that carries a certainty. But the journeys, the journeys, they are uncertain. Von Clausewitz captured this idea. Although our intellect always longs for clarity and certainty, our nature often finds uncertainty fascinating. My point then is that it is not just the destination that matters, but also the journey. And journeys are about risk and uncertainty. Otherwise, the ends would justify the means. Our polity here in MDUUC and other UU churches reflects this perhaps in our hymnals. Here are fixed, these are places, and this is appropriately titled Singing the Tradition. But it adds the word living tradition. And for it to live, it needed this teal book, Singing the Journey. I think of how apt it is that our 2 main English language hymnals should reflect both the destination and the journey. So this morning we take a brief fantastical journey, outbound, passing through the historical context of our current national passions, then on to our shared Unitarian Universalist constellation, and ending up, as successful journeys should, in our own hearts and minds. In taking this journey, I seek to learn whether our Unitarian Universalist values can help us to make sense of the seemingly growing uncertainties in our world today. But more importantly, what do those UU values call on us to do in the face of unpredictability, of uncertainty? You may have encountered a famous quotation about certainty and predictability by a guy named Lorenzo Pietro Berra, better known as Yogi, the Hall of Fame New York Yankee catcher and 10-time World Series champion. My favorite Yogiism is, it's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. Aptly illustrating uncertainty, this quote may be misattributed to Yogi, having been written by a Danish politician, Carl Christian Steinke, in 1948, at least according to the website quoteinvestigator.com. In these turbulent and polarized times of COVID anti-vaxxers and election denialists, we might be tempted to think that our current plight is unprecedented, perhaps insoluble. While the only single silver lining for me about the pandemic is that since March of 2020, it got me reading at a furious pace, almost a book a week ever since, mostly history and biography. And I discovered that we have faced similar uncertainties and crises before. For example, one of the most chilling prior eras in our history took place during Woodrow Wilson's presidency, between the years 1917 and 1921. Berkeley author Adam Hochschild tells us about it in his book, American Midnight. Just over a century ago, mobs burned black churches to the ground. Nationwide, over 1,000 people were jailed solely for what they had written or said, even in private. And 250,000 people joined a nationwide vigilante group sponsored by the Department of Justice. The recent Supreme Court decisions inevitably raised debates about the Constitution, what it means. Is it fixed? Are we a government of laws? Or is it subject to interpretation, as in each generation of Americans must decide what the Constitution means? As I recall these two opposing views that I learned in my business law course at the University of Connecticut from Professor Tucker. Does the Constitution's durability rest on it being rigid and fixed, or instead on its ability to evolve, to take on the changing stresses of a journey through time? Whether our Constitution is rigidly fixed, or whether it is dynamic and evolving, depends on whether you see it as a destination or a journey. The recent 75-year-long arc of societal progress happened to begin, coincidentally, on my 5th birthday, when President Truman desegregated the armed forces. The mistake I think we liberals are now making is to think that these last 75 years of improving social justice measures are a destination. They are not. It's a journey, and we are not there yet. Otherwise, women still couldn't vote, and we'd still be cursed by Jim Crow at the least and slavery at the worst. It was Benjamin Franklin who, in writing about the Constitution, had the best observation about certainty. Franklin is generally viewed as the wisest of our national founders. As the historian Henry Steele Commager wrote, in Franklin could be merged the virtues of Puritanism without its defects and the illumination of the Enlightenment without its heat. And yes, I am aware that Franklin owned at least 2 slaves. By 1787, he was president of an abolitionist society that petitioned Congress to end slavery, a fight that he carried on until his death in April of 1790. Just 6 months before that, in November of 1789, Franklin wrote this to a friend in France. Our new Constitution is now established. Everything seems to promise it will be durable. But in this world, nothing is certain but death and taxes. Maybe that's why some of us are not big fans of certainty. So let's travel on past politics and national issues and enter the Unitarian Universalist solar system. Have you ever thought about what a scary and challenging faith Unitarian Universalism is? It's a wonder that we have any visitors, let alone repeat visitors. To start, we have no creed. In many religions, including the three Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there is usually a creed followed by the lure of certainty. This takes the form of a social, a theological contract, a transaction. It's what scientists call an if-then statement. If you believe this, good things will happen to you. And if you recite these prayers and perform these acts, you will be rewarded. But Unitarian Universalism offers no guaranteed beliefs, no certainties. There's no 60,000-mile, 5-year warranty for new signers of our membership book. Just an endless, free, and responsible search for truth and meaning. Other faiths guarantee a wonderful destination, while we extol as our fourth and central principle, guess what? A journey. They promise a wonderful destination called paradise, while we promise a journey that may be filled with toil, sweat, and tears. And if we're unlucky, a figurative trans-Pacific flight in a middle seat in economy, or going eastbound with a 30-minute connection at ORD, Chicago O'Hare. Makes me wonder sometimes if we could use a new marketing strategy. But we actually have two big advantages. First, we Unitarian Universalists are a people who appreciate the journey. Second, our Unitarian Universalist tent is big, really big. We draw our circle wide. I know humanist Unitarians, earth-based belief Unitarians, atheist Unitarians, yes, Jewish Unitarians. In short, we come in many flavors, just like ice cream. Here, look at this car windshield sunshade from a past campaign of the Bay Area Unitarian Universalists. Room for different beliefs, yours. These are scarce, these are collector's items. So we UUs reject orthodoxy, and we don't have much time for certainty, nor should we. We are a faith of experimenters and pragmatists, not of catechism or loyalty oath crusaders and theorists. Some of you may disagree, but for me, it is not our group identity that defines us, as some would have. Those attributes are fixed like places. They are true, but they are not pertinent because they utterly fail to capture the unique and essential humanity in each of us. Rather, what defines us is the wonderful, inhomogeneous messiness that is so hard to explain to a first-time visitor. This willingness, indeed this rejoicing at our many individual journeys, filled with risk and uncertainty that differentiates us. We UUs have built an enviable tolerance for ambiguity, self-confidence, and indeed self-reliance in the face of the unknown. That is what Emerson and the transcendentalist poets taught, and that is what drew Sue and me to the First Unitarian Society of West Hartford, Connecticut, nearly 50 years ago. These hallmarks, which comprise the essence of why we come to this special place, this MDUUC, serve us especially well in turbulent times. Uncertainty is the universe's way of keeping us humans in check, to keep us from becoming arrogant, from becoming our worst selves, by refusing to let us be cemented into certainty, and by opening our hearts and minds to the infinite possibilities of the divine as we make our individual journeys. Are you sure, comes the query. Not in the least, I reply, and that's what makes us who we are. Shalom, let us sing.